On this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone, we're going to review a lot of wrestling events that take place from New Japan, AEW's Women's Tag Team Tournament Cup, GCW, and many other things. So let's get started with another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan, Impact, NWA, many promotions, matches, wrestlers, and championships. I'm your host, J-Rod here. So before I start with the first review of what happened throughout the weekend, I'm gonna give you guys the update what's happened. As you wrestling fans heard, the great one, the Brahma Bull, the People's Champion, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, has purchased the XFL. Yeah, I know what you guys are thinking. You probably think it's cool, but others saying why. I can tell you why. I'm gonna make this real quick for all of you. Does Vince McMahon knows how to run a football league? The answer to that question is no. Just like he doesn't know how to run a freaking promotion. He let a lot of his wrestlers down. Just like what Eric Young said. But for now, I'm very happy that this is gonna happen. But it's still just the beginning. We're just gonna see what's gonna happen. So as you know, the XFL originally came out in 2001. It was a horrible thing they did, with these ridiculous things they were doing. And of course, it was revived a year ago. They had a couple of games, but it went bankruptcy due to the pandemic. But right now, I'm excited to see what The Rock is going to do with it. But right now, let's just jump in with the first review. And that review is New Japan Pro Wrestling's Summer Struggle that took place this past weekend. Okay, everybody, so finally I get to do New Japan. I haven't done it for quite some time. I'm very happy I'm doing this. Now, if you all know, they always do these series, but I did not catch up with the ones. I just catch with the latest one that took place on July 31st. So let's start with from start to finish. It happened with an 8-man tag team match with Chaos members Toru Yano, Yoshihashi, Tomohiro Ishii, and Hiroki Goto versus Clark Connors, Sugiyoya, Taguchi, and Satoshi Kojima. Now this match was alright, don't get me wrong, but of course one of the most interesting things, if you're a New Japan fan, you always love the comedic ones inside these rings. The only two ones that always put out is, of course, Taguchi and Yano. But we always seen the aggressiveness from the Chaos members, from Goto and Ishii. But in with the New Japan, with the other opposing team, like Clark Kona and Yoya and Kojima, it's kind of interesting. But the match went really well. But the way it ended is where Yano gave a low blow to Suji, which is always one of his antics. So Chaos picked up the victory on this one. So it's kind of interesting to see that. The next match is we had a tag team match. We had Great Bash Heel versus Togi Makabe and Humna versus LIJ members Sanada and Tagaki. Now, as you all know, there is talk that there is a possibility that Sanada might team up with Tagaki for World Tag League, which is their annual tournament where they determine who wins Tag League for a shot of the IWGP heavyweight tag team titles that are currently being held by Suzuki-gun members Zack Sabre Jr. and Tai Chi. But this match was great. It showed a bit of wrestlers, like Great Heel Bash are very old school wrestlers, very They already passed their prime, but they're still good at what they do, facing against guys like Sonata and Tagagi, who are still in their prime. Like, they have a lot to show from what we can tell. I love Lij. I've always been a big fan of them now for the past 2 or 3 years. But it's great to see what they can do. And luckily, Sonata picked up the victory by putting Hamna in the submission move that he always put in. So, but in a way, now if you guys didn't know, Shingo Tagagi, he is the current never openweight champion. Now, if either Makabe or Hamna picked up the pin on Tagagi, then there is a chance that one of them could get a opportunity for the never openweight championship. But it did not happen, so that means there's no challenger or unless someone steps up. So that's how it goes. So Lij picked up the victory. The next match, we have a 10-man tag team match. First team, Imura Yuya, Master Wado, Yoshihiro Tenzan, Kota Ibushi, and Tanahashi versus Suzuki-gun members. Taichi, El Desperado, Kanemaru, Zack Sabre Jr., and Minoru Suzuki. No, Doki. Now, Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. have, for a while, are not determined to give Kota Ibushi and Tanahashi a rematch because they felt that they don't deserve it. They always believe that they're not even worth it. And recently, Kota Ibushi and Tanahashi have not been doing so well. Tanahashi is having a hard time trying to keep up with Kota Ibushi. As you know, Tanahashi is in his late 40s, I think. Kota in his 30s, so it's kind of hard for those two dynamics to happen. We don't know for sure if Kota might drop him as a tag team partner and moved on with another partner, which is probably good, maybe for him to get another opportunity of the heavyweight tag team titles. But frankly, it didn't go exactly how they planned. Suzuki-gun actually picked up the victory, and Kota Ibushi was not happy how the aftermath of the whole thing, how the outcome. But we'll see what happens then. Next thing we know, they started out a little intermission, but at the same time, they paid tribute in the memory of Mark Rollerball Rocco. Now, if you guys are not familiarized with him, he's amongst one of the best junior heavyweight competitors of his time. But if you guys know the history about a particular wrestler calling himself Black Tiger, Mark Rollerball Rocco, he in fact is the very first Black Tiger. Now, I'm going to do a little review for you guys. Who is Black Tiger? Black Tiger is a story about a villain who's been chosen by these Yakuza guys to rid a former member of the Tiger Den named Tiger Mask. Tiger Mask used to be a member of the Tiger Den until he turned his back on them. Now, there have been many members who played Tiger Mask for many years. Of course, Misawa was the second one, but I forgot who was the first. There's been many other Tiger Masks, but Black Tiger serves as an evil twin of Tiger Mask, but mostly Tiger Mask has been held by foreign wrestlers, kind of like similar to what we see with Bullet Club. But there have been one occasion where there was maybe one or maybe two wrestlers of Japanese descent who played Tiger Mask, which was breaking the barrier or the tradition of what Black Tiger is. So Rocco, on the other hand, he is the very first person who portrayed this character, Black Tiger. I've seen him before. If you guys don't know this, Eddie Guerrero was amongst one of them, and so was Silver King, who was amongst them too. So there have been many others. Even ACH played Black Tiger too. So it's kind of interesting to see that. But yeah. So if you guys don't have New Japan live on demand, you should get it. They will put out every Tiger Mask, Black Tiger you can see. So let's move on with the show. The next episode, it was a tag team match between Bullet Club members Yojiro and Yado, who were facing off against Chaos members Sho and Okada. Now, Yo was unable to compete due to injury, but there is a chance that if he doesn't able to compete for the next 6 months, then Sho and Yo may lose the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles. But this match, they had to be more careful with with never mind. It wasn't Yado who was in the ring. It was Geto. Yado was outside. They had to be careful with him because that's what Yado is. He is the master heater. So, but out of nowhere, Yano shows up and actually gives a low blow to Geto, and that kind of cost Bullet Club the match. Yano will not forget what happened. If you all recall this, Yano was part of the Chaos members, Chaos from the very beginning. Yojiro Takahashi was amongst those who betrayed Chaos when he switched ship to the Bullet Club, and Yojiro has been trying to get into Okada's head over this for what happened, costing him the IWGP Heavyweight title to AJ Styles years ago. But, like they would say, payback's up. Beep! Now, the next match was another tag team match. LIJ members Bushi and Tetsuya Naito, but Himuru was unable to do to a shoulder injury. Luckily, it wasn't his neck because it would have been very bad. Facing off against Bullet Club members Evil and Taiji Shimuri, but they weren't alone. They had the spoiler, Togo. As always, Togo has been interfering with many of their matches, trying to ensure they pick up a win. Togo's been playing as the insurance policy. But but of course, Togo spoiled everyone. So, resulting, Evil picked up the victory. And this is far from over between both Evil and Tetsuya Naito. So, we will see them in the upcoming events soon for the Double Championship. Now, the main event, this one was a match of veterans between Minoru Suzuki and Yuji Nagata. These guys have similar styles. Yuji Nagata wins a match against Suzuki, or is Suzuki to Nagata. So they've been doing it for almost 35 plus years or so. But it's kind of crazy. This shows a lot of strength, who is more deadly as than the other. But if you're not a fan of Minoru Suzuki, you know what he is capable of. You know, he always begs you to hit him harder until you tire out. But frankly, Suzuki won, and this is just the beginning. So the real question right now for Suzuki, what's next? So that's the interesting question. So I think that's it for now. There will be more New Japan content now that I'm back into it. So let's move on with talking shop A-Mania. Alright, since you all know what happened this past Saturday, we had the premiere of Talkin' Shop A-Mania, which was produced by current Impact stars Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, but they also had Rocky Romero, the king of sneaky style. Now, you probably ask yourselves, how did this happen? I have to say, this pay-per-view thing was pretty darn good. It was really, really interesting, entertaining, and all this other stuff. And they took place right in the backyard of Luke Gallows' property. So basically, everything was shot at his place, which was amazing. But Carl Anderson, he did something dumb, so he decided to show his infamous hot Asian wife. Yeah, you heard of that term before all the time, even when he was in WWE. And yes, his wife is hot, if you guys are fans of that, so that's pretty funny. She even nearly tried to do something really dumb where she was exposing herself, and he tried to run from it, but it did not work. And of course, we did saw familiar faces in this show. They had Teddy Long there and all this and that. The first match was kind of interesting. They actually showed this thing called the Social Distancing Battle Royale. So basically, you had wrestlers that are social distance, but they touched other wrestlers. I don't know who were in there, but there were some that I recognized. One of them was Brian Pillman Jr. And there were other wrestlers there that I don't know who they were, like Little Nub, Roman, Laser, Freight Train, and also another familiar name. No one's seen this guy in years. He retired from the ring, I'm talking about Alex Kozlov. If you guys know who he is, he was a very well-known wrestler from Japan and Mexico, and I haven't seen this guy for a long time. And they had an interesting person where his mom, his bearded mom, shows up, which was kind of funny. I enjoyed it. But also during the match, some people even show up there. Some familiar faces. One of them was Mike Bennett. If you guys remember him, he was known as Mike Canellis. He actually showed up, and it was very unusual. But he threw himself out of the battle royal, which was kind of smart but funny. But the winner for this was an unexpected wrestler, Chico. So he became the 24/7 champion on this one. Oh yeah, and Chavo was there too, and pretty much that's what happened. So later on that, they actually had this interesting match thing where Mike Bennett shows up to give drugs to Sex Ferguson. That was an character that was created by Gallows, which was kind of interesting. So later, the next match was Contract on a Tree. It was kind of interesting. So they had David Coverdale and this guy named versus Nature Boy Paul Reed. So kind of messed up. And then Paul Reed walks out doing his like the Ric Flair impression, and he sees Maria, but it's like no, it's an overweight woman. Oh, like what the heck I just saw. So later, Coverdale ran to the pond, which is not in the property of Gallows' property. So he ran over there. It was so funny. And then Chico said he wants to put his title on the line against Chavo Guerrero. So there have been a little history of the family between Chico and Chavo's family. Uh, Chavo can't stand Chico. Chico can't stand Chavo, but they respect their families very much, like their grandfathers. So, and then they had this hardcore match with a guy named George Nord versus Stomp Kowalski. But this match went everywhere around the house. And then all of a sudden, they actually got into a room where Brian Myers was there playing action figures with his kids. And of course, the kids actually beat up, what's the guy? George Nord. And the match continued from both. From the Contract on a Tree and the hardcore match. It was a rather bizarre story. Then here comes Teddy Long. He said this is really dumb of what's been going on, all this and that. I mean, it's kind of interesting how all of this was going on. And then they had this interesting tag team, 80s Russians versus Jungle Kids, and much of the entire match was all right. But at some point, we get familiar faces that come out, people we've seen from various promotions, past. So the first ones they had was members of the Flock. If you guys are not familiarized with the Flock, that was Raven's faction in WCW. We had guys like Lodi, Sick Boy, and Reese, better known as Yeti. And then we had D'Lo Brown, Rhino, Brian Pillman. I don't know who this rim job guy is. Of course, Chavo, and of course Willie Mack. And Willie Mack brought out like the Stone Cold version type. I think he's a big fan of Stone Cold. I'm not sure because he does that. Oh yeah, and the stunner and sticking out the finger, which is kind of interesting to watch. But yeah, if you're not a fan of Stone Cold, then you guys are missing out. So, and then later here comes Chico, who was sparring, and then here comes Chavo, who wants a piece of the title. So basically, it was going back and forth. Chavo won the title, and then all of a sudden, Chavo lost the title to Chad Too Bad, a rival of Sex Ferguson and former tag team partner. So Chad Too Bad was portrayed by Carl Anderson, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, then Enzio was ranting on Gallows the entire time. He was showing up. He ranted about him, about what a lousy place he has to do for a wrestling event, all this other stuff. I thought it was hilarious and funny. But yeah. And then all of a sudden we have a couple of guys that showed up. Bennett and of course his friend Heath. They just showed up out of nowhere. So that's kind of very funny. Then we had the Boner Yard match. No, wait a minute. I missed one. There's a grudge match that they had. This one had Rory Fox versus Swoggle Rider, and he was being accompanied by Brian Myers. It was so funny, but of course, Swoggle won the match by removing Rory's pants, and he just ran like crazy. Now, the main event was, of course, it's a parody of the Boneyard match, but they call it the Boner Yard. Yes, Chad Too Bad showed up in a uh, white hearse, those types of cars that bring in caskets. All of a sudden, the Druids dropped the casket with Chad Too Bad there, and it was so hilarious. I thought it was a classic. So yeah, and then we had other people that show up throughout the match. We had, of course, Maria, Heath and Slater were there just having fun watching the entire thing. Then we had the Rock and Roll Express, Enzio, the Druids, Johnny Swinger was there, and then Chavo was chasing Chico. Then flashback of 2019 with the Young Bucks. They said this took place last year. I don't buy it, but I think they were just having a little fun with this. But yeah, but of course, the match ended with Chad Too Bad winning. He buried alive Seth Ferguson, but Seth Ferguson actually came out wearing a mask. So basically, this is kind of an interesting thing. I think people like it because it's very entertaining, even though it's wrestling, but it's very entertaining. And I heard there was talk that they want to do a part 2 or something. I mean, if they do, I'll be happy. I have to say these guys have a very interesting creative process. Now, what do I think about this thing? I have to say I give it a 10 out of 10. Reason is, like, it kept me entertained, even though there has been a lot of foul language and all this other stuff, but it keeps us entertained, how things are. I mean, how often do you see this? The answer is not that much. But it's great stuff to watch if you're a wrestling fan. If you like it, then you like it. If you don't, then get off the bus. So I think that's it for now for the Talking Shop Mania. I hope you guys get the chance to watch it. You can watch it on Fight TV. If you don't have the app, get the app, set up an account. All you got to do is pay $14.99 and you'll be all set. So right now, let's move on to GCW. Keep in touch. Alright, so the next content we're going to review is Game Changer Wrestling, or better known as GCW. Their latest event took place in Indianapolis called Keep in Touch. It was another outdoor event in some park, which was interesting. Very good matches they had. It started out with this crazy segment called Nate Webb's Bagel Fuck Off Dirtbag Kitchen. So it's just a wrestler doing kitchen thing, but you can see that on the IWTV, which is an app where you guys can see some wrestling events from the independents. I had a hard time trying to watch it because I don't understand how this whole thing works. I hope they can fix it better for fans like myself. But the first match of the night is Tony Deppen versus Ben Carter. This one was an okay match. Deppen, I have heard heard his name before, but I haven't seen him wrestle until the last event for the Homecoming. I don't remember which one was it. Was it the first or the second one? But dang, that was a good match to see. Ben Carter, he really put on a good show. So is Tony Deppen. So, but Tony Deppen won the match. It was very interesting. The next match, it was an intergender match. It was Cole Roderick versus Kylie Ray. Now, if you guys don't know, Kylie Ray has done intergender matches before in the past. So don't try to go and criticize her, but she is good. I mean, she's one of the best. There have been wrestlers that gave high praises to her, saying that she's the best for the intergender matches. I enjoyed it. This was a good match, how it turned out. Of course, Cole actually kind of mocked Kylie a few times with the little thing. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. It was a good match. I liked it. Kylie did not win this one, but Cole did. It was a good match to watch. Then we had in this another match between two behemoths, KTB versus Calvin uh, Calvin Tankman. This was a very interesting. Two big guys, Who doesn't love to see that? It's like something we need in the heavyweight divisions all the time. But wow, I enjoyed it. But of course, there's only one winner, and that is KTB. So it's a great one to watch. Now, the next match we had is an interesting Trey Lamar versus Blake Christian. Now, I am becoming a very big fan of Blake Christian. He is a very talented individual. I love what he does. I enjoyed what he does. The last two homecoming events was great. Him winning the first match against Alex Zane, and then the second match he did on the homecoming part 2, winning the scramble match. I have to say, Blake Christian should be a big star. I hope he's being recognized for what he can do. He's a very talented individual, and I love what he can do. So he won this match. It was unbelievable. I think you guys should watch him. So his name is Blake Christian. So the next match it's a tag team match, but mixed with the intergender. We had Effie Cat, which is consistent of Effie and Alley Cat versus 44-0. Now, this match was set up like right after the events of what happened on the Homecoming Part 2. Alley and Effie were supposed to face off, but apparently, no, it was Alley and of course Nate Webb. But Alley got mad that 44-0 got in. This messed up their dynamic, their matches, all of that. So it's kind of messed up. So 44-0 shows up. It only had members RSP and Atticus Kogan. I don't know who these guys well, but I do know that RSP is Ricky Shane Page. He actually is the current GCW World Champion. So. And they're having their feud towards Nick Gage, better known as the MDK. So yeah, but it was a good match to watch. But of course, there was a moment when Ali and Effie were about to put Kogan right through a door, but of course RSP broke it to ensure that doesn't happen. But of course, he had the other two goons outside as always, so nobody likes it. They are like the most hated faction within the promotion itself. But yeah, then we see then we go into a match between Mance Warner and Nate Webb. This was a good match. I'd like to call it a hardcore match, but it ended great. It was amazing. I think Nate Webb and Mance was one of the best ones I've seen so far for them. But I enjoyed watching these matches. I love Mance Warner. He's fun to watch. He enjoys it. But it's cool. But at the end of the event, it was Mance Warner who won. So he took Nate Webb out for a beer. Yeah. You know he loves to drink. So he took him out for a beer. So that's the best way to go. Then we had a scramble match. Now, if you guys are not familiarized with scramble match, it's a 6-man individual match. So it's 6 guys versus each other. So here are who they had. Jordan Oliver, Jimmy Lloyd, Shane Mercer, Alex Zane, Isaiah Vasquez, and Impact star Ace Austin. Now this was very interesting. I have to say, out of all the scramble matches I've seen so far, I think this is my 4th one. I say this one was one of the best ones that I've ever come across. But another wrestler for this one really, really impressed me the most is Alex Zane. He is really impressive. As much as I like how this guy can do, it's pretty amazing. What I say, he should be also a top star as well. But it was great. Then the next thing we have is another match. The former GCW champion, AJ Gray versus Chris Dickinson. This one was amazing. Another set of skills. As you know, AJ Gray competed for a death match against Alex Colon. He came up short, but he found respect out of Alex Colon. But this match was great. If you guys don't know Chris Dickinson, he is the master in catch wrestling style. He used whatever he got to win the match, and he put AJ Gray in submission, winning the match by that. It was, if you guys don't know, I think maybe Chris Dickinson was part of the Catch Point faction with when it was running with Tracy Williams, who I think is currently with ROH. Then the main event is ACH versus Joey Janela. Now this one was determined who was the best. This one went a lot way. There were people who were saying if they are going to toss him in the river. I don't know what to expect. It was a great match. I enjoyed it. It was awesome. I don't know what to expect, but it ended in a way I did not expect. ACH gave a low blow to Joey Janela, making sure he wins. He couldn't put Joey away the way he hoped, but ended badly. So that's what happened in GCW. There'll be more events coming up. I understand there's 2 more events coming up on the 22nd of August and the 23rd. So if you guys don't have Fight TV, get it now because I'm going to watch it. I hope you guys get a chance to watch it. So let's move on to the final subject to review is the AEW's Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament. So let's do that right now. Alright, so the last thing we're going to do is the AEW Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament. Now this has already been discussed about maybe a week or 2 ago, but now they're doing random draws who they're going to pair up. The idea is you're going to pick up a poker chip and you're going to hold on. Now whoever picks up another poker chip or something or a coin, if you have the same color, that's the tag team you're in. But there was a little funny story. I'll get to that. But this was a really great show. One thing I did enjoy, was surprised, was seeing Shal Guerrero. If you guys don't know who she is the daughter of the late Eddie Guerrero, and also the daughter of her mother is excuse me. Yeah, her mother too. I'm assuming Vicky's proud that she was in it. I have to say, AEW made a good choice in having a female ring announcer. I've seen Shal Guerrero before does ring announcing. She did that with the Women of Wrestling, but we haven't seen anything from them of late. As you know, they're not doing their shows on Access TV, so I'm sure we'll see them. But Shal Guerrero introduced a female legend, and I'm talking about Medusa. If you guys don't know who she is, she's been a female a champion for both WWE and WCW, but it was great to see her. But she made some great analogies. Some partners are going to be paired up for the first time. There's no chemistry, but the real question, can they work together or become enemies? That is a great analogy that she put out. I have to say that's a great thought about it. And if you must know who's in commentary, it was Tony Schiavone and Vita Scott. I don't know who Vita Scott is, but I hope I get to see more of that. Now, there was an interview with the Nightmare Sisters. As you know, there was a chance they could not be paired. So, Brandy picked up the first chip, and it was a red one. And then Allie picked up another one. It was red. So, I have to say it's all been planned out that way. Because I think the Nightmare Sisters are a pretty good dynamic team. And the next team we see was Penelope Ford. She teamed up with Mel. Which, of course, as always, this is the first time they're beating, and they were the first match of the first round qualifying, first match of the round. So it was Mel and Penelope Ford versus the Nightmare Sisters, and Penelope was being Ford. Kip said it was, how do I say, company Penelope was Ford, but the Nightmare Sisters were in fact accompanied by both Dustin Rhodes and the return of QT Marshall. So that means he is fine. QT is probably no longer infected with the virus. I'm glad he's back. As we can say in the Christian community like myself, thank God that happened. So it was a great match. I have to say it was interesting. I think many of us as fans are hoping the Nightmare Sisters win this one. Because A, it's a very good team, and B, it's kind of interesting. They were enemies, and now they're becoming a good team. I have to say, I think because they wanted to leave whatever happened in the past, that the rivalry behind them. But I have to say, it's becoming good. I enjoy it. But of course, we cannot forget the interference from the super bad Kip Sabian on this one. He tried to make sure they win, but of course, he got in the face with both Dustin and QT. The natural nightmares. But luckily for them, luckily that Kip didn't have a partner to back him up. The only one who would have done it was Jimmy Havoc, but we all know where he is. So, but the best part of this match, the Nightmare Sisters win thanks to Ali scratching the eyes of Mel and allowing Brandy to spear Mel, which was good. So they are the winners of the first qualifying match, so they advance. Now the next pick was Nyla Rose with Vicky. Their partner, they picked up a purple chip, and there's, according to Dasha, someone else picked up the chip, and that one was Ariana Andrews. If you guys don't know who she is, she was known as Cameron back in WCW from the Funkadelics. Now, we haven't seen her in a long time. We do know she's been perfecting her wrestling style, but we haven't seen her since. But I'm assuming she was amongst those who was released from WWE. Now, the next pair was Anna Jay. She just got over it, and she picked a very black poker chip, and her partner was Tay Conti. If you guys don't know who she is, she's Tayanara Conti. She's just recently been released from WWE. It's great. We didn't know what to expect. Now, the next match was Nyla Rose with Adriana Andrews facing off against Anna Jay and Tay Conti. Now, Anna Jay was being accompanied by members of the Dark Order. But here's the thing. My money, I voted for somehow, a part of me was telling me that it was going to be Tay Conti and Anna Jay winning. Now, not because because I've always believed that, Nyla Rose is more of a, a solo act. Some wrestlers are good at going on their own and all this and that, which was good. But as soon as I saw how good Anna Jay and Tay were becoming, I have to say it shows more. Okay, we've seen tag teams when they're formed. Sometimes you have to find a good chemistry, and I think this one is one. But the answer question we would ask: would Tay join the Dark Order? You may never know. Maybe she could. Keep that for a thought. But as for Nyla Rose and Ariana Andrews, it was good. But at the end, Ariane actually did not know of the blind tag that she did not see. Anna Jay picked up the victory on this one. As soon as it was over, Nyla Rose took out Ariana, and of course, Vicky's not too concerned about it. I think we all know what she wants. She wants the title, but she wants to make the AEW Women's Championship back on her waist, but that's going to be for another time. So that's pretty much what they have for that particular event. 2 matches for the first round qualifying round, but 2 more matches will be taking place that following week. It's still unclear who. They said 16 teams, 16 female wrestlers, 8 teams. Now, we already seen 2, so that means we have 2 more matches. 2 of the 4 will advance. So we're gonna stick to that until next week. But for now, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of me reviewing finally New Japan content, throwing the talking shop, GCW, and of course the Women's Tag Team Cup Tournament for AEW. So for now, I'm just gonna bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.